Hey everyone, it's been some time since the last rework video, and that's because I've been, well, really busy, but thanks to this 3-day long weekend, I was able to catch up on a few things. And the other reason I was, kind of not able to make one of these big videos is because I wanted to wait for my computer to be repaired so I can have decent audio again. But I haven't gotten that back yet, and I don't know what's taking them so long. They keep saying that they shipped it back to me, and it's still not here. So we'll see what's happening with that. But I decided I didn't want to wait anymore. So sorry about the audio, but I think I'm getting a little better at mitigating it. So yeah. Anyways, I got tons of great feedback and recommendations on my last Hammond rework video. Everyone essentially hated two things that I recommended. So the zero cooldown was a bit out of pocket, right? The zero cooldown for the hook shot, for obvious reasons. So that was one. The second thing everybody hated, well, not really hated, but really made good arguments against. Well, both of them, they had really good arguments against, obviously. But the other one was the fact that I wanted to bring down the skill floor, which I kind of found comforting in a lot of the reasoning behind it, because I remember when I started playing Doomfist in Overwatch 1, and part of the reason why I liked him so much was because he was so hard to play. I really felt like I earned being able to play him in an actual game. So I would actually especially like to thank Halim Al-Nami in the comment sections for really going in deep as to why the difficulty of Hammond is good. And all of you guys, really, like a lot of you did say that you wanted him to stay a complicated character to play. It was like in that scene in the movie Ratatouille where what do you call him? The critic is like eating the ratatouille at the end, and he just like flashes back to his childhood. That's how it felt like. Right? I was like, oh, I get it. I get this now. Anyways, I hate that movie. I think rats cooking is disgusting. But yeah, so, I kept that same energy in this final rework. So I still think that some things need to be done to lower certain skills. And I think you guys are going to agree. We'll get there. There's some things that are like extremely difficult about Hammond to do that I think should just be a regular part of his kick. So yeah, don't worry. I got you guys. Don't forget, everybody. At the end of the video, I do the wildcard ideas, and this is Hammond, so he's already a fun character. So there are plenty of new ideas that I think you guys are going to like. So yeah, let's begin. So the first thing I want to change in his arsenal is, I guess, add a passive to him. So Hammond now cancels the tank passive that mitigates the amount of CC they are affected by. So now when he slams into them with his hook shot swing or his fireball state or pile driver, they are pushed and launched up in the air just like any other non-tank character. Hammond is a wrecking ball. What does that mean? He breaks walls. He breaks tanks. I think he should be a tank whose purpose is to move people around, so it actually makes sense, even, as a character design thing, for him to be able to do this much stuff to opposing tanks. Hammond needs something that makes him effective against tanks, something every tank has in some way. And I don't think this is going to make him like an anti-tank character. But I do think it would make sense. He's going to be pushing people around, and especially since he's not always playing with his team. One of the comments was like, if Hammond goes into a fight and leaves, and he doesn't, and his team dies, then that means he didn't do his job. So we're gonna make him be able to do his job better, which is disrupt things a lot better. So tanks are the most scary thing in the game, so we have to disrupt them too. So I think this makes sense. The wrecking ball smashes into walls, or we can change walls into tanks, that's what they are. So yeah, I think this will be a great upgrade to his kit. Anyways, the next few are a bit easy. I don't think these will be controversial at all, but yeah. So the quad cannon damage will be increased from 1.5 to 5 damage per pellet to 2.5 to 6 damage per pellet. So just an increase of 1 damage, like kind of flat. This means that the DPS goes from 125 per second to 150 per second. So for this, I think his gun doesn't do a lot of damage. I think everybody could agree with that. But I also don't think it needs to be buffed to the point where it's his main way of killing things. More of a combo after, he does his combo of entering a fight and creates all this chaos. Like if he if after he does all the wrecking ball things he does, and then there's somebody who he can kill by just kind of shooting at them or they're running away. I think that's how this should be used. So if you're able to land every shot during that 1 second, which I don't think anybody does, well, some people do, because when they get launched in the air, they can't really move like that. But for a whole second, I think you should be able to cause some severe damage to that person, to the person you're targeting, especially with how inconsistent his moves are. Well, I would not inconsistent, but how difficult his moves are to land. So I think this is a nice, easy but not too OP way of making him a little bit more consistent with damage without bringing down the skill floor too much. The next one is also an easy one. So the damage he does when he's in this fireball state is increased from 50 damages to 60. Kind of like the quad cannons. I think his damage is a bit inconsistent, or maybe you need to be rewarded a bit more when you're able to kind of land your hits. And I didn't go up to 75 because I think that would be a bit too much, because let's not forget, this hits like several people when he does it correctly. So I think this would be fine. Plus, he's not just kind of hitting people and kind of just leaving, right? There's always a combo follow-up type of situation, or the way he's supposed to be played. So yeah, I think 60 would be good. It's not too much, not too weak, but it's good enough. So next is the pile driver. So for this one, the area of effect is increased from a radius of 8 meters to 9. And honestly, I didn't know that the radius was this big when I first looked at it. I don't even know if it's correct. Maybe they meant the diameter, because I looked at the numbers. So maybe this might be a mistake, but a radius of 8 it's pretty huge. Like, it's diameter is 16 meters. That's really big. So yeah, I didn't know the radius was that big. But if it really is that big and it's still really hard to kind of get value out of this move, then it probably should still be increased. But this one is one I wasn't too sure about, because I didn't know it was this big to begin with. So yeah. So anyways, I'm increasing the radius from 8 meters to 9 meters. So the diameter will now be 18 meters. And this is going to tie into the next part of the upgrade for his pile driver. So the next part of his upgrade is that I am increasing the damage he does. Well, the damage he does by height is increased by 1.25 times, so by a fourth. So right now, at the lowest height he can do his pile driver, he does 20 damage. That's going to be increased to 25 damage. At the highest height, he does 100 damage. I'm going to increase that to 125 damage. However, what I do want to do with this move is, now the damage will vary based on how close the person is to the center. So I think this will be a way to kind of balance out the AoE effect of this move. So for the max height, at the very center, he's essentially going to be doing the center where Hammond touches. So the area where the ball actually hits, that area would be 125 damage. And from there on, and at the furthest edges, would do 75 damage. So again, the closer you are, the more damage you take. The further you are, the less damage you take. And I think this will still, on average, do more damage than he does right now, because the distribution is the area is much bigger. So I still think the damage would be done more, but I don't think you should be hitting somebody for 100 damage. 9 meters away. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot of damage. And again, I gotta check again. Maybe I'll have to check again to see if the radius really is that big, because that's really big, right? that's really big. And just like for the lowest point that he's gonna be doing damage, the lowest point that he can activate his pile drive, at the center will be 25 damage, and at the furthest edges would be 15. So keeping it consistent with how high you are. So yeah, I'll just say it again. So overall, because of the increased radius, the damage still should be more consistent than the 100 damage he does at the current height he is now. And also, now that he affects tanks equally, then I think this is like a double or triple upgrade for this move. So next, let's go into the Grapple Hook. So next is the Grapple Hook. Now, like my last video, I did think there needed to be a cooldown reduction in, how often the grapple hook could be used, because I would like people to have more opportunities to attempt to do the things that they are doing, and maybe not to the point where it's zero. Again, that was a bit much, and I guess maybe in these videos I've been kind of doing a bit much lately for the last few. But just like the comment said, people who are good don't take that long to build up the damage with their hooks. So I do want to reward that. I think that was a really good point somebody made. This idea stems from Zoe Zafrantes, what he said in the comments, or she, one of those two. But yeah, so anyways, the numbers will be, if your hook shot is active for less than a second, the cooldown is 3 seconds. If it's more than 1 second but less than 2, the cooldown is 4.5 seconds. And if it's for more than 2 seconds, the cooldown is 6 seconds. This will reward the people who take the time to get good and will increase the skill ceiling, but also give more opportunity for people to do what they're trying to do, which will lower the skill floor. It's something beginners can also learn to use quickly. So I think this will be a good way for people of a lower skill to really get into more skillful play and kind of making more deliberate movements. So yeah, it's an increase of the skill ceiling and a lowering of the skill floor, kind of keeping the flavor of what I was trying to do in the last game without making it in the last video without making it too dumbed down. Hey everyone, I'd like to interrupt this video to remind you to like and leave a comment. It's the best thing you can do to a video so that YouTube increases its reach, and I'd really like to keep growing this community, especially since we have so many good discussions and debates in the comment sections, and I do read and try to reply to every single comment. So please leave a comment, and subscribe if you like it. But yeah, for the algorithm. Now the next one is about his wall jump, wall glide thing, and this is more of a passive tech that thanks to Josh M in the comments, I almost completely forgot about this tech. Like I almost completely forgot about this tech. But again, the last video wasn't even about like the techs and stuff. It was completely about the hook shot. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, this is a very high skill tech for that Hammond can do. It's crazy hard to do and not something even I usually do. Honestly, I don't even think I can do this like out of whim like that. Like even right now, I would need a ton of practice. I'll link a tutorial video in the description, but this is probably the hardest thing to do in the game, like consistently. Anyways, the tech helps Hammond play off walls as if he was Doomfist from Overwatch 1. He could essentially bounce off walls vertically or horizontally to like very crazy levels. To give you an idea, on the first point of Numbani, he can go from the floor to the top of one of the balconies without using his hook shot. That is insane. So I think this should be more facilitated and make more accessible without having to press the crazy series of buttons that needs to be pressed in order to be able to do this. I think whenever he jumps against a wall, depending on how close or how far he is from the wall and the speed he's moving, he should automatically be, kind of moved upward a bit. The closer you are to the wall when you're jumping, and the higher the speed you're moving, the further you're gonna go. Instead of having like roll in, jump, go backwards, and then it's weird. it's really complicated. It has to be so precise. So yeah, this brings down the skill floor for such a high level thing to do. It's like absurdly difficult to do, and I think bringing down the skill floor for this would actually just bring it down from extremely hard to just hard. Or maybe not even hard. It doesn't have to be hard, just like medium. So like I want to lean into this the way they leaned into the Mercy power jump, where before it was like this hard tech to do, but now there's like literally a button you can do to do it. Now you have to get used to the rhythm, when you do it, when you don't do it. So there's still that, but this is still a pretty difficult thing to do. And also I think what's her name, in Overwatch 1 there was a point where Brig had like a wall slide jump thing she can do for one of her reworks, and I think they kept it. It was a glitch, but they kept it. I think the Doomfist thing was also kind of a glitch that they didn't really anticipate, but they thought it was pretty cool, so they just kind of left it in there. So yeah, I want to do that with Hammond. I think this this is going to bring down the skill floor a bit, but from like extremely hard to just like hard, because one, you can only do it against a wall, right? You don't always have the opportunity to do this. So now for the wild card ideas. So just like in my last video, I think the Sonic Ball rollout is I just like it. I think it's really fun. I don't even know, like I think all the other things we suggested are good enough, but I don't know, I think this is fun. And I guess also one thing I do think about Hammond is I think that he needs another move or something to be able to combo with. Maybe he doesn't, because a lot of characters only have like 2 things they can do, right? But you have to kind of, you know, get the whole rhythm down on it. But I feel like you'll see in these 2 suggestions, I feel like he needs one more damage thing to kind of bring him over the top, because his gun doesn't do that much damage. So all he has is pile driver and his fireball state. I think one more thing to kind of throw in there to kind of help seal the deal might be good. But yeah, anyways, the way I described this in the last video was, you know, ball starts to spin like Sonic the Hedgehog for like 3 seconds, and you have like you have 3 seconds to choose 3 different spots he can kind of ricochet through really fast, causing damage to everyone in that area. The reason for this and my next suggestion is mainly because I feel like, okay, so this is nothing too powerful. Like this will probably do, I don't know, 50 or 40 damages to everybody hit, but kind of allow him to hit, kind of control an area better, and would kind of help him mix it in with all his other moves. And I can see high skill players using this with the swing, like some awesome combo thing that they can do, kind of like in Overwatch 1 when Doomfist had his uppercut. That uppercut was like a really nice, it just fit in there perfectly to kind of help him get to that point where he can kill something. Yeah, so yeah, I think if he was going in a straight line, I think that would kind of take away from the grapple hook with you know, the fireball thing where he just kind of grabs the corner and just kind of goes in there like immediately. I think it'll take away from that too much. So I think it would have to exist in this form. And somebody in the comments did say that this was actually part of his kit originally. That there's a video out there showing that I guess in his pre-alpha state that he was able to do this. I should actually find the name of the guy who told me this. Okay, his name is Daryl Orocho. Thank you, Daryl. I didn't know that. But yeah, so apparently something very similar to this was part of his kit in some pre-alpha state of the game. So if anybody could find that video, I'd like to see it. That'd be cool. So yeah, I also think this will just be kind of fun. Like I like having fun. Like, yeah, I like a lot of the weird stuff they put in the game, or maybe they can have another character who has this. So the next thing, so this idea was suggested by Jason Mead, and it's called the Trail of Fire. He suggested this in the comments, and I think it was awesome but very simple, so I loved it. So when he's in the fireball state, he leaves a trail of fire behind him that lasts for like 3 seconds and does 25 damages a second. I think this would be cool. Like, I can even see this going along with a Sonic Ball rollout idea. Like, I could imagine like well, hear me out. Like, imagine you wind up the Sonic attack and you choose the 3 different areas to ricochet from, and then while you're like bouncing off the areas, you leave a trail of fire, but you keep the momentum, and then while you're still moving, you latch onto a building, and you're hitting people as you swing out, and then you swing back into the fight, hit people, but while you're going up in the air, you do your pile driver, shoot everybody up in the air and start shooting them. That would be crazy cool. But yeah, this is a wild card section, so you know, this combination might be a bit OP, but a man can dream, can't he? So yeah, although it does take all his cooldowns, so is it really that OP? Because then he can't do anything. But then again, he has his adaptive shield and he's already like very difficult to kill, so that might be a bit much. But you know, but imagine that, right? You do the Sonic Ball thing, so there's just an area of fire, like a fire pit, that he just kind of leaves. So that combination would be kind of wild. But yeah, those are 2 just really fun, you know, Gatorade get hyped moments. I got that from that term from Tim Geddes from the Kind of Funny podcast, which is actually the podcast that made me start my podcast. So yeah. Anyways, the next one is CC reduction. So now I considered CC reduction for when he's in his ball form, or like when he's in his fireball state. But Although it makes sense, I don't think this would be a good idea because CC is like the only way to deal with Hammond. He's just way too mobile, and his HP is like the highest in the game, well, the highest potential in the game. So I think CC reduction would just be way too much. So it was considered, but I was like, nah, what are we gonna do against him? Yeah, I think that would be too much. Anyways, there you have it. Marginal increase to damage of all his moves for more consistent damage, lowering the skill floor in very more strategic ways that also reward high level play. So every time we lower the skill floor on something, we also increase the skill floor. And you know, for example, the less time your hook is activated, the shorter your cooldown. You know, doing the wall jump and wall gliding abilities, well, techs that are extremely hard to do right now. And the ability for him to have a decent effect on tanks, to kind of go with his name of being a wrecking ball, which also kind of ties into the Roadhog rework I did, where he was his passive was called the bodyguard, and he actually is a bodyguard in the canon of the story. And his wildcard moves are, you know, just to give him a little bit more options of the things he can do for damage, since his damage is a bit inconsistent, but just to kind of throw it out there, like Doomfist Uppercut back in Overwatch 1. So yeah, overall, I think these are much better than the first video. But the first video, again, we were only focusing on the hook shot. So yeah, thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and most importantly, leave a message for the algorithm, as this channel is still growing. So yeah, see you guys next time. I love you.